You've got a 401k loan. What are you doing with it when you retire, quit your job? What are your options? Let's take a look at that. So let's go over to the Honda Donda board and let's first talk about this. A lot of people are doing 401k loans now. Why are they doing 401k loans? Well, the interest rates are so high out there. Sometimes it's cheaper to actually get a 401k loan than anything else. Also, you may be doing it just because you need some quick cash. Maybe your credit is bad. You can maybe go and get the 401k loan versus trying to get something else, paying a higher interest rate because your credit score is bad. A lot of options out there. So let's just say that you've got $100,000 in your 401k. Oftentimes, you're allowed to do up to 50% of the balance, up to $50,000. That's the rule there. And so you can't just, if you got $1 million, you can't get $500,000 out of your 401k, but there are options. Now, when you get the 401k loan, that's one thing, but what happens if you are going to leave your job? Maybe you get terminated, maybe you are laid off, maybe you decide to retire. A lot of things can happen. Well, some of this will depend on the employer plan. Now, one that is really cool, I'm going to throw you a little one right here, is the rule of 55. The rule of 55 means that you could potentially avoid any 10% early withdrawal penalty if you make it all the way to 55 when you decide to withdraw or, retire, anything like that. So that's part of this. Now, let me break all this down for you. So what ends up happening is if you have a 401k loan on your plan, what's going to happen is if you leave, then you've got to pay the loan back over a certain period of time. Every company is different on the way they allow this to work. But if you don't pay it back, then you are going to have to pay taxes on the withdrawal. And if you are under 59.5, then you are going to have to pay a 10% early withdrawal penalty on that as well. But remember, so the rule of 55 is as long as you are 55 and separated from employment, there's a couple plans that don't allow this, but as long as that's the case with your plan, then you can actually avoid this 10% penalty on that. Now, you have a few options that come into play here. You could say, okay, well, I've got my 401k loan, and what's going to happen is the company may say that you have a certain period of time to pay that back. When the 2018 Tax Cut and Jobs Act came into play, it changed this a bit, and it said that, used to it was 60 days you had to pay the loan back. Now they're saying, well, guess what? You have until the following tax year to pay that back when your taxes are due. This could change depending on the plan, though. They have a little bit of liberty with this, but at least that is the rule there. Now, remember that this sunsets after 2025, so that means it goes away. So the Tax Cut Jobs Act, unless something happens there with that. So that's an option for you right there, that you may just have to pay it back over a certain period of time. You may be able to leave the loan balance and then transfer the rest of it to an IRA and roll it over. But some companies say, hey, you've got to pay the loan back when that happens, and you've got to be really careful and check with your company on this, because if you want to say you want to roll it all over, you just want to roll it all over or transfer it to a new 401k or to an IRA, if you don't pay the loan back, then it's going to be considered a distribution, and you're going to be taxed on that. If you're 59.5 or under 59.5, or maybe 55 to 59.5, that weird little thing of the rule of 55. If you don't fall into that, you're going to have that 10% early withdrawal penalty plus the tax. So just make sure you understand that. Let me show you the screen here, and I'm going to talk about actually with the IRS what they say with some of this. Because, again, it's one that a lot of people are going through right this second, and what's without there in getting your loans. So what happens if a plan loan is not repaid according to its terms? It's deemed a distribution. So it's, there we go, right there. You do have some options, though. So you'll have quarterly payments, March 31st, June 30th, September 30th, and December 31st. Is a deemed distribution like an actual distribution for all purposes? No. A deemed distribution is treated as an actual distribution. So just what I talked about there with the early distribution as well, potentially. What is a plan offset amount, and can it be rolled over? This is what I talked about. Sometimes the company allows you to actually roll over and then leave the loan there and work on things. But you've got to be careful, because if what it talks about up here is that Loans are not taxable distributions. A plan may, here's a big loophole for you, potentially. Let's say that maybe you can negotiate with the company that you just want to do a leave of absence if they're going to make you pay this loan back pretty quick. Well, right here, you could say you could do a leave of absence up to 1 year, and that could potentially help to work things out so that you don't have to pay the loan back right away. So upon return, the participant must make up the missed payments. So this could actually freeze your payments, save up the money with the leave of absence, pay this thing off, and then you could potentially go that route. Maybe if you're 58 and a half and you want to get to 59 and a half, if they don't allow the rule of 55, little games that you can play here to try to see anything that you could do. If you miss a payment, this is broken down the IRS as well on their site, but if you do miss a payment, and let's say that you are retired or quitting and you miss the payment, what ends up happening is they can't just say, hey, you missed one payment, you're done. You can make up that payment, but the next quarter that comes around, if you haven't made up that payment, you're in default. They're going to mark this thing as a distribution, report it to the IRS, and you're on the hook. So those are some different scenarios there that come into play with a 401k loan. Some people say, hey, don't take the loan. I'm not saying that, we've done some videos on some reasons why you could take the loan. But either way, hope that you got something out of this. This is the kind of stuff we help with our clients here at Jazz Wealth. If you want to check us out, feel free to do so, jazzwealth.com.